In 2011, something happened that no one expected. A quiet legal battle suddenly turned into one of the most shocking discoveries in modern history. For decades, people had walked past the Padmanabha Swami temple without realizing what was hidden beneath their feet. It took the persistence of a single man, T.P. Sundararajan, to bring attention to what many dismissed as myth. He believed that enormous wealth was sealed inside the temple's underground vaults, protected for generations and forgotten by time. When the court finally approved an official investigation, a special team was assembled to descend into the hidden chambers. As they moved deeper underground, the air grew thick and suffocating, untouched for centuries. The walls were dark, marked by soot from ancient lamps, and the silence felt unnatural, almost heavy. Every step they took felt like entering a place that was never meant to be disturbed. No one in that group truly understood what they were about to uncover. But within moments, their understanding of history and wealth was about to change forever. When the first vault was finally opened, reality itself seemed to shift. The team expected to find artifacts, maybe a few relics of historical value. Instead, they found something almost impossible to comprehend. The ground beneath their feet was not stone, but gold. Coins covered the entire floor in thick layers, forcing them to walk slowly, carefully, as if stepping across a fragile surface. The light from their lamps reflected in every direction, bouncing off rings, necklaces, and ancient ornaments scattered everywhere. Massive statues made entirely of gold stood silently in the corners, watching over the chamber like guardians of a forgotten era. Some containers had decayed over time, spilling their contents into growing piles that looked more like dunes than treasure. There were chains so large and heavy they could barely be lifted, and fine gold dust that rose into the air with the slightest movement, creating a shimmering haze around them. It wasn't just wealth, it was overwhelming excess, accumulated over centuries without being touched. At that moment, the team realized they weren't just looking at treasure. They were standing inside something far greater than anyone had imagined. As the team continued examining the vault, they began to notice something that didn't belong. Among the countless gold coins, some carried markings that were completely unfamiliar. These weren't from local kingdoms or nearby regions. They were from ancient Rome. Perfectly preserved, these coins displayed the faces of emperors who had ruled thousands of years ago on a completely different continent. The discovery raised a question that no one could immediately answer. How did Roman currency end up sealed inside a hidden chamber beneath an Indian temple? The only explanation pointed toward ancient trade routes, vast networks that once connected distant civilizations in ways we are still trying to fully understand. This vault was not just a storage of wealth. It was a record of global interaction, a silent archive showing how goods, culture, and power moved across the world long before modern systems existed. Alongside these coins were ceremonial items of immense scale, including enormous gold chains, believed to have adorned war elephants during royal processions. These objects symbolized power, dominance, and wealth beyond imagination. But as fascinating as these discoveries were, they also hinted at something deeper, a story far more complex than simple accumulation. Just as the team began to process the magnitude of what they had found, they encountered something that immediately changed the atmosphere. Another vault stood before them, completely different from the first. This was not a door designed to be opened easily. There were no handles, no hinges, no visible mechanism of any kind. Its surface was carved with detailed images of cobras, their forms frozen in a tense, almost threatening posture. The moment the team approached, they were stopped by temple authorities. The priests insisted that this vault must never be opened. Their warning was not casual. It was absolute. According to tradition, this door was sealed in a way that did not involve physical locks, but something far more unusual. It was said that only a specific sound, a sacred mantra, could unlock it safely. Any attempt to force it open, they claimed, could lead to consequences no one was prepared for. The contrast between the scientific mindset of the investigators and the deep-rooted beliefs of the temple guardians created a tense standoff. For the first time, the excitement of discovery was replaced with hesitation. Something about this door felt different, and no one could ignore it. At first, the warnings were easy to dismiss, but soon events began to unfold that made even the most skeptical individuals uneasy. Some members of the team reported hearing strange sounds coming from behind the sealed vault. These weren't random noises or echoes. They described something more consistent, like the distant rush of water combined with a low, unsettling hiss. It didn't make sense. According to all expectations, the space behind the door should have been silent, sealed off for centuries. Yet the reports continued, and the atmosphere among the team grew increasingly tense. Then came the moment that changed everything. T.P. Sundararajan, the man who had pushed for the investigation, passed away suddenly. There was no clear explanation, no warning signs leading up to it. The timing alone was enough to spark fear and speculation. Workers who had previously been determined to continue began refusing to approach the vault. What had started as a historical exploration was now surrounded by uncertainty and unease. The idea of a curse, once dismissed as superstition, began to take hold in the minds of those involved. Whether real or not, the psychological impact was undeniable. As fear spread, scientists and engineers stepped in with a different perspective. Instead of focusing on legends, they began analyzing the structure itself. Using advanced scanning technology, they uncovered a hidden network beneath the temple, channels and cavities that suggested a highly sophisticated design. The temple's location near the ocean was not a coincidence. These underground pathways appeared to connect directly to seawater sources, forming a system that could be activated under specific conditions. The theory that emerged was both logical and alarming. If the sealed vault were forced open, it could trigger a mechanism that would release massive amounts of water into the underground chambers. Within moments, the entire area could be flooded, destroying everything inside and potentially collapsing the structure above. This wasn't mythology. It was engineering. A defense system designed centuries ago, using principles that demonstrated an advanced understanding of pressure, flow, and structural integrity. The idea that ancient builders could create something so precise challenged modern assumptions about historical technology. And suddenly, the warnings about not opening the vault no longer sounded irrational. They sounded like instructions. To understand why such extreme measures were taken, it is necessary to look back at the decisions of Marthanda Varma. At a time when rulers fought to expand their power and accumulate wealth, he did something completely unexpected. He dedicated his entire kingdom and its riches to the deity Vishnu. This act transformed the nature of ownership. The wealth stored within the temple was no longer considered property in the traditional sense. It became sacred, beyond the reach of personal or political use. Future rulers were not owners, but caretakers, responsible for preserving what had been entrusted to them. This decision created a system that protected the treasure in a way no physical barrier could. Even during periods of invasion and colonization, when valuable resources were routinely seized, this temple remained untouched. The belief that the wealth belonged to a higher power acted as a shield, stronger than any army. Over time, offerings continued to accumulate, adding to the already vast reserves. The result was a collection of wealth that remained intact for centuries, preserved not by secrecy alone, but by a shared understanding that it was not meant to be used. In modern times, that understanding has been challenged. As news of the treasure spread, debates began over what should be done with it. Some argued that such immense wealth could be used to address economic challenges, benefiting millions of people. Others insisted that removing or repurposing the treasure would violate its sacred status and erase an important part of history. The conflict eventually reached the highest levels of the legal system, turning into a prolonged and complex battle. Government authorities proposed taking control, while representatives of the temple and royal family resisted. The case raised unusual questions, including whether a deity could be recognized as a legal owner of property. After years of debate, a decision was finally made. In 2020, the court ruled that control of the temple would remain with its traditional custodians. The treasure would not be removed or altered without proper authority. Following this decision, security around the site was significantly increased. Surveillance systems were installed, guards were stationed, and strict protocols were enforced. Despite these measures, the tension surrounding the site has not disappeared. If anything, it has grown as more people become aware of what lies beneath. Even after all the discoveries, the most important question remains unanswered. What is hidden behind the sealed vault? Modern scanning technologies have revealed that there is more beyond the visible barrier. A deeper chamber exists, extending further underground, containing objects that do not resemble anything found in the other vaults. These are not coins or ornaments. Their shapes are unfamiliar, leading to speculation about their purpose and origin. Some researchers believe they could be containers holding ancient manuscripts, possibly inscribed on gold or other durable materials. If true, this would mean the vault contains not just wealth, but knowledge, records of civilizations, technologies, or ideas that have been lost over time. Others suggest more unconventional possibilities, proposing that the chamber could hold artifacts from cultures we have yet to fully understand. Without direct access, these ideas remain theories. The vault continues to remain sealed, protected by both physical design and the weight of uncertainty. And perhaps that is what makes it so compelling. Because sometimes the greatest mystery is not what has been discovered, but what is still waiting, hidden, just beyond reach.